Customer brought this beautiful SC300 and it's getting a radio, 4 speakers, and some coilovers installed. Let's go ahead and check the inside out. It says he bought this from grandma. Grandma ended up only putting 70,000 miles on it. Odometer shows 71,846. And this is so nostalgic. Look at the seatbelts. Seatbelts, like, here's your seatbelt and it sticks out an arm to you. We're gonna be upgrading this radio. One of the things we have to end up doing while upgrading this is bypassing the factory amplifier. So this whole thing is gonna get replaced from here to here. Factory amplifier has to get bypassed, and we're gonna end up adding some door speakers because these door speakers are gonna sound terrible on the aftermarket radio once we bypass the amplifier. Let's do it. We're gonna put in an Alpine radio and some Alpine speakers. Quick unboxing of the Alpine. We have all the wiring in here, which also includes the microphone, and then we have the radio itself, which is fully touchscreen. I'll go ahead and leave that in there for time being. This thing comes fully loaded with the exception of it being wireless. That's the only difference between the W670 and the W770, which I also have here, the W770. Now, the cool thing about these things, there's unlimited amount of things that you can add onto it. The one thing about this radio, when you end up hooking up the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, everything works off of USB. So when I was talking earlier about wireless versus wired, that's the main difference that's going to be between the W670 and the W770. Aside from that, pretty much the same radio. First thing we're going to end up doing, aside from unboxing everything to make sure everything's there, is we're going to end up mounting the radio to the aftermarket dash kit, which for the Lexus, it's going to be part number 95-8157B. Main reason, we just want to make sure everything's going to fit onto this, because if it doesn't, then we're going to end up running into issues with trying to find another dash kit that's going to be compatible with it. This kit comes set up so you can do doubled in or singled in applications, and the difference between a singled in and doubled in is literally that. This one's double the size of a singled in radio, which is like the old school radios. I already went ahead and cut off the support brackets that gets sent from the manufacturer like that. I don't think they do that anymore. I think they stopped doing those support brackets a long time ago, so this kit might actually have been sitting on the shelf for a little bit, but I cut those off. We're gonna go ahead and file down the last little bits and pieces of it, and then we should be able to get this one installed like so. This is one of the reasons why I hate those stupid little support brackets, because then you got to file it off and try to get it to look good. But this is kind of the final product of it. Let's go ahead and get this done, and you can see the whole thing installed completely. Then we're going to run to the vehicle, remove the factory amplifier, and send the wires that are from that part of the car to the front by using a special technique that I will show you in a little bit. Let's get to it.
All right, so once we get the door panel off, honestly, the rest of the stuff is just taking out the old speaker and putting in the new one. For these ones have, what are they called? The acoustic box or something?
It's got a box on it. It extends it out for the door panel.
So in order to put the new ones in, we do have to trim a little bit off on the inside. That way it fits flush inside. For the door panel speakers, we do have to do a little bit of some work on this. So all right, yeah, so for the door panel speakers, we do have to do a little bit of cutting on the plastics because they don't fully sit flush in the actual speaker housing. But yeah, once we do that, then we're able to install the speakers and they fit perfect. So once we cut out the little plastic so the speaker can actually fit in, we just reinstall it and then
plug everything in.
Plug everything back in, and then we can finally put the door panel back on and everything should be working. So for the radio on this specific car, we do have to pull out the middle console in order to get to that radio to take it out.
Sometimes they're a bitch to do, bro, because this is an old ass car, everything breaks, you know.
Yeah, I know, especially my car, yeah.
So all of these pieces, like trying to end up pulling shit off, it's really difficult.
So once we get this off, we'll show the kind of the back of the radio, and then we'll show you how to do all the wiring and stuff. Should be pretty easy. For this, you have to take out all the screws. There is a shit ton of screws that go into this, but once we get them out, then we can eventually take the radio out.
There's a lot of connectors on these, so like it's best to remove all the connectors first, and then the radio will come out a little bit more with ease.
So for this car specifically, we do have to do a lot of, like you said, connectors, but for every car, it's kind of different. You just kind of have to look up a video on your exact model. Should be something, or at least a user manual that'll tell you how to take out the radio.
I will remind people, this is a super old car. They're not usually this clean. Sometimes connectors from other people trying to fix stuff went wrong on the vehicle, end up making it hard for you to get things done on these. It's not always that way when you have a really nice car, but for the most part, most people are going to struggle from it being completely destroyed from hack jobs that have been done in the past. We actually dealt with that with yours. Your harness was cut.
Yeah, so my car on the MR2, there was already an aftermarket radio radio installed. So all the wires were already cut and pushed back a lot. So we had to kind of deal with that. But how old is this car actually?
We had to rewire the power wire on yours because it was, I tried getting it to work from the factory wire, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So we had to split the wire in half just for the radio to work. And then what year is this car?
This one's a 98.
See, look, this is a 98 and it's literally grandma kept. Look how clean the interior is. Yeah, this one we're lucky, so we don't have to do too much work on it because it is all factory, even the factory radio and everything. So
you know what's crazy? I bet this car is worth more on the motor than every part of this car.
This has the 2JZ, which everybody wants and needs in their car because it can handle a lot.
As they end up depleting from Earth, because people fucking break the cars and crash them, whatever, blow up the blocks, they become more and more sought after because of that fact.
More obsolete. But right here we have a fresh one. So this one was grandma kept, supposedly.
The car drives great.
Yeah.
If there's some crazy offer that somebody wants to make on this, I guarantee you he'll sell it.
Yeah, somebody will probably comment on this one because it has stock motor, so 2JZ and everything.
On this setup for the radio, climate control is on the top of it. So we're gonna remove all of this, leave the radio still in the brackets because we have new brackets now. Then we have the bottom harness with all the plastics right here that are gonna get reused. So all of this stuff has to come off of here, then transfer onto the new radio. And then this part of the bracket, which if I don't break it, it's gonna go to the other part of the radio and it's gonna screw in from the side. We're gonna continue to reuse this.
And just kind of a FYI, even though there's a whole bunch of wires and stuff, don't get intimidated because this really isn't that much.
No.
This one's actually neatly organized, so it'll make it a lot easier.
Yes, once you see everything start to get plugged back into place where it's supposed to, then it's just actually just gonna look a lot more cleaner and it won't be as intimidating. So we have all of the radio disconnected now. Now all we have to do is just remove this. We'll be able to plug all that back onto the new radio setup.
So once we have the wire harness out for the radio, because we took this out, this one's the old and the new one, we just wire it together. So strip the end of the wire, twist it, and then
we're gonna crimp the white caps on here, allow us to crimp the wires together. There's a bypass on this thing. This little device right here is basically a little chip with a bunch of resistors and diodes in it. And this thing's actually gonna allow the radio to watch movies / enter some of the features that are supposed to make, I guess, to get it to bypass the e-brake is what it is. These things are supposed to be hooked up to the e-brake to safely operate the radio, but nobody wants to have to push down the brake in order for them to get access to the Bluetooth features and stuff like that. You just want to just get into the radio and just work it.
Hook it up, yeah.
So this is going to allow us to bypass the brake system. That's like a passive anti-theft or passive brake feature on this thing. Which is honestly, in most cars that are newer, you have to be at a standstill, have the brake on in order to turn on Bluetooth, which kind of sucks. So yeah, it's way better than having it working. So we're gonna bypass that. We're also gonna start wiring up the radio so that way we can get power to it. This particular radio does not have ground here, so we're not actually gonna use this even though it looks like it's there. I need to run a ground wire from here to the chassis. I looked at the pins to see wires actually go to the harness, and there's no ground wire on the opposite side of this male harness going to the female. I'll run a ground from there to there, and then that should take care of the rest of the wiring for that. Then I have to run speaker wires from the back of the amplifier, which is all the way in the trunk, into these wires, and that's going to give my audio. The main reason we changed the speaker wires is because the factory amplifier does not work really well with the aftermarket radio, because it's going to end up being on a high level input. Going to a high level input, it just makes it sound a lot more distorted. If you have more questions in the comments, let me know. I'll try to answer them as best as possible, but short story, we're just going to run wires directly from the speaker straight to here, coming from the amplifier, which is a shortcut way of having to get the wires to the doors.
So we already have the radio installed. Now we are running the, what was it called?
It's called the 9-wire, which is all the speakers into one wire.
Okay, so it looks like something like that.
So it literally is just a bulk wire into one ginormous wire. So that way it allows me to run it cleanly through the side of the panels. That's gonna go back to the factory amplifier. That's allowing me to do is basically get all the speakers from one location instead of having to run wires to each and every speaker to get to the radio. The reason why we're not using the factory amplifier is because it causes distortion. When you hook it up to the aftermarket radio, as soon as you end up putting the volume to like 5 or 6, it's immediately super loud because of the difference between high and low conversions. Here's the factory amplifier. Here's the wires coming out of the amplifier. So we cut it right here, splice it, run it to the front, and then finalize the stereo part of it. Meanwhile, in the back, Steve is pulling out the back seats to get to the back deck lids in order to change the back speakers.
Nice, so we'll show you once it's all complete and we'll do a sound test. The speakers are a little bit too big for the housing, so we gotta bend the brackets a little bit so it can fit.
So we got everything completed aside from one issue that we ran into. We got our Bluetooth audio working in here. We're not gonna play anything right now because it's gonna sound like crap in the video anyways. This is the final product of it. We have the USB that I flush mounted into the cigarette lighter, which used to be a cigarette lighter and now it's a USB. So we converted that. That hides away nicely. This front left speaker ended up having a bad wire connection from the actual door itself. I need to talk to the customer tomorrow and let him know about it and see if he wants to go ahead and push us to run a new wire from inside the boot into the door panel itself. The stereo system sounds great. We have Alpine speakers in the front, Alpine speakers in the back, Alpine head unit. Then the next episode or next time you see this car, we're gonna be doing coilovers, BC. We're gonna end up doing upgraded spring rates for the front and the rear because the roads out here are really crappy. So stay tuned for that. I think that takes care of this car. This is Modified Garage out. I'll see you on the next one.